Okay, last part for this week regarding taxes and welfare. We're going to be looking now for the consumer surplus, the producer surplus, the tax revenue, and the deadweight loss after the tax, of course. So let's just get right into it. Starting off, we're going to be looking at the consumer surplus. So not too bad, just again along the demand curve down to the price that consumers are actually going to be paying, along that price right back up to where we started, and just filling in that whole area is going to give us this triangle representing our consumer surplus. And so to find the consumer surplus in the market, we're just going to find the area of this triangle. I'm going to go ahead and label it real quick. Okay, so pretty straightforward. We've done this plenty of times now. Consumer surplus is going to be 1/2 base times height, where our base is going to be the quantity being traded, 11 units here. Our height is going to be the difference between the intercept of the demand curve with the y-axis. It's going to be 75, which we can find by looking at our demand equation. It's going to be right here, $75. So we're going to be, our height's going to be the $75 minus the price that's actually being paid by consumers in the market, the $42. So we'll just plug that in. 75 minus 42 is 33. Plug that into our original equation. Consumer surplus is 1/2 times a base of 11 times a height of 33. And we get 181.5 for our consumer surplus in this instance. Now moving on down to our producer surplus. So for our producer surplus, we're going to be looking at the original supply curve. We're going to be looking at our original supply curve. We're going to go along the supply curve going up to the point, the price that the producers are going to be receiving. And remember, they're only going to be receiving the $27, even though the consumers are paying $42. There's that tax that has to be taken out of the $42 and given to the government. So producers are only receiving $27. We're going to go up to 27 and then go right along the price down to where we started and just fill this triangle in, representing our producer surplus. And so our producer surplus again is a triangle. Pretty straightforward calculation. 1/2 base times height again. Base is going to be the units traded in the market, our 11 units. Our height is going to be the price paid minus the intercept. And again, our intercept is just going to be given by that one coefficient in the equation. So it's going to be 27 minus 5. That's going to be our 22. Plug this back into our original equation. We're going to see 1/2 times 11 times 22 gives us 121 for our producer surplus. Now looking at the tax revenue, just as we discussed previously, it's going to be this little gap in here between the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. Is going to be representing the amount of revenue that is paid to the government from the tax. And again, as discussed previously, I'm just going to put TR for tax revenue. The area of a rectangle is just given by base times height. And notice our base is the units traded in the market. Our height is the tax wedge, the amount of the tax. And so base times height is going to be the units being traded in the market times the tax per unit. So our tax revenue is going to be given by units traded times tax. And for us, that's going to be 11 times 15. This was a tax of 15. And so we get 165 for our tax revenue. And then lastly, we have this little triangle off on the end, deadweight loss, surplus that has been lost in the market due to this tax. And to find it, we have our height, which is going to be the difference from up here, the price consumers are paying, and down here, the price the producers are receiving. And that difference is again just going to be our tax, 15. Um, and then for our base, we just have to find along this point along from the tip to this side here. And what this space is the difference between the quantity at equilibrium and the quantity being traded after the tax. And to find it algebraically, you're just going to set the demand curve equal to the supply curve and solve for Q. On this graph, I'm able to read that this is going to be 14. And I did check it algebraically earlier. It is indeed 14. So in that case, we have our deadweight loss is again 1/2 times base times height, where our base is going to be the difference between our equilibrium quantity and our quantity traded under the tax. 14 minus 11 is 3. Our height is just going to be equal to the tax, which is 15. And so solving for our deadweight loss, we're going to see 1/2 times 3 times 15 is going to give us 22.5 for our deadweight loss. And that is going to complete this week's lessons or this week's examples for taxes and welfare. So yeah, we have the first 2 videos are going to be covering the when the tax is imposed on the consumers. Second 2 videos covering tax being imposed on the producers. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me through email. You can reach out to me through Canvas. And yeah, have a good day. Yeah, have a good day.